It's another day of going sideways with a possible movement to the downside. Hello and welcome to this Bitcoin price analysis. It is the 25th of April 2024. It's 49 minutes past 1 in the afternoon, Central European time. And yes, as I said, it's another day of going sideways on Bitcoin with a possible dumpage down to lower prices because of grayscale selling or because of other stuff. Who knows? Who cares? We don't, because it's another day of sideways. So let's move over to the other stuff. The crypto fear and greed index is at 72, so it's another day of greed. Nothing really changed since yesterday there. The fear and greed index over on the normal markets one is at 40. So we've moved up a little bit closer to neutral once again. And as we can see, but that little correction is just like it's making a little bit of a don't know whether I'm going up or down right now. Let's move down to the VIX. The VIX is here. You can see that it went down. It's gone back up again. So it's like neutral at the moment. So we'll have to see come probably Monday. The cryptocurrency market cap, or the coin market cap, shows that the global crypto market cap is down by 4.76% to 2.19 trillion. And just for all of you dollar lovers out there, that's 2.35 trillion there. Let's move it back. Whoops, let's move it back to my currency. And then the altcoin season is moving closer to be a Bitcoin season, or it's moving further away from being an altcoin season. The altcoins have seen a little bit of a hit today, but nothing spectacular. So hello and welcome to this video. My name is David Dawn, and you're watching David's videos. If you haven't checked out my channel before, I make a whole bunch of different types of videos, from programming to JavaScript to talking about my life in Germany and a whole bunch of other things. And currently, due to Bitcoin making all-time new highs and possibly making 100,000, who knows, I'm making these Bitcoin price analysis videos. So if you are interested in seeing any of the videos that I've made over the past couple of weeks and maybe a month or so, then come in here and check out these set of videos. And you are, as you can see here, it goes all the way back down to the 24th of April when we started. So basically a month now. So if you do want to subscribe to my channel, so when I release another video tomorrow, then you'll be notified of me releasing videos. Otherwise, just keep looking out for videos that I release with BTC. Now, if I do release any other videos in the future, which I will be, that are not Bitcoin related, then I'm not going to be offended if you just scroll on by and just ignore them. And if you want to check them out, check them out. Haven't decided what I'm going to be making yet, but I'm going on holiday, so I'm just going to make a whole bunch of videos to be posted every single day. Haven't decided what the topic is yet. Anyway, we'll see. With that said, before we get started, I just want to let you know that I am not a financial advisor, right? I am not a professional trader. I'm literally just a guy sat in front of the monitor talking to a microphone about the price of Bitcoin going up or down with regards to his own investments. Okay, so me and my wife, we invested back in 2021, right? We bought a little bit more as it went down, and then we lost a little bit of strength to buy, and we didn't buy at the bottom. Big regrets, mainly my fault. But now, as I've mentioned over other videos, as it hit the tops here, the 67,000, 66,000, I've sold Bitcoin at the tops all the time, taking small profits. Now, I must admit, they are small profits, but they were definitely enough to be able to buy into Solana to quadruple my position when Bitcoin, between Solana and Bitcoin, when it went down to its low here. And like I said, if my pen works, I managed to quadruple my position. Now, when the price gets up to here, then I will think about maybe moving some of that Solana back over to Bitcoin again, to keep the amount of Bitcoin that I had in the beginning how it was, because I would still have more Solana then than I had previously. So, but with that all out the way now, I just want to say that before we start, which we are starting very, very shortly, I do make these videos for free, okay? There's no sponsorship, there's no people paying me or nothing like that. I literally spend a couple of hours in the morning doing my own general research. This morning I've been reading books been reading books about Jesse Livermore. I've got How to Trade in Stocks is one great book that I like, and I've also been reading at the same time Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, written by Edwin something. Not going to try and pronounce the name, but I do this for free, and I do my own due diligence to make sure that anything I say actually holds up against the stocks that we're looking at or I'm looking at. So just do me a favor, just give it a like. That's all I'm asking for. I go out and buy the books, I go out and do the research, and I pass this information back onto you, and that's it. And hopefully over the coming weeks or month, then I will reach a point where I can have the subscriptions and the teams and this, that, and the other, and we can all join a community and so on. If you do want to contact me through Discord, then here's the link on my Discord, and yeah, just come and contact me there, and I'll pop you into the Bitcoin group, and you can send me a message when you want to. But if you do scam me or spam me, I'll just throw you out and block you anyway. So, all right. With that now all out the way, I believe, let's jump straight in to the Bitcoin price. Now, no surprise here, we are still going sideways, but I like to review the charts. I like to review the charts every single day as if it's the first time I'm ever looking at these charts, so I can be not biased by my decision yesterday. Okay, so let's come out here and we see that the overall, I've changed the color of this as well. Let's move it back to green and make it 2 points. Okay, let's scroll all the way out to a monthly basis just to see the overall trend, right? And what we can see here, if we just draw a line from a low to the middle, we can see the overall trend over a long time, over years, say like 2030, the overall trend is going up. So we should expect the price to fluctuate above and below this if it's going to keep this average price. Now, it's just an arbitrary line, but if we just move it through the middle, where all that, like the bottoms were and all these wicks, then we should be able to identify approximately, and this is very approximately, it could just be here as well, but let's just keep it in the middle. This could be our long-term 4, 5, 10-year or whatever average price that we're looking to get into Bitcoin. So buying some here and buying down here, you would be able to have a good average price. So as far as we're concerned, is to follow the trend of the market. The trend is going up. So if we then look into a weekly level, we can see that the trend is still going up on a long-term basis since like 2020. We can still see that it has hit a high, right? And it has hit a peak above some of the other highs here. Let's just ignore the wick, but we should use the wick. But as you can see here, we are above the previous pivot points, all right? But what we are doing right now is we are coming back to test one of these pivot points. And so let's just dump this right now. And this was in one of the chapters I was reading this morning, and which was interesting. So let's just remove these pivot points here as well. And so this is what's interesting, is this is a pivot point here that we need to be concerned about, right? And then let's just say the start and the end of this other pivot point. So Jesse Livermore talks about that prices tend to bounce off or pass through easily pivot points. And what he's saying here is that we should expect the price of Bitcoin to try and attack this one pivot point, but if there is strength, then it should rally once again and go up, which is saying basically it's going to come and try and attack this line. And if there is strength there, we should expect it to come up again and go even further. Otherwise, pivot points, expect it to come through quite strongly to the next pivot point as well. And we see here the next pivot point would be that one there, and then it should go straight through or come back to the previous pivot point as well, and so on. So the pivot points are really a crucial part to be able to time the market correctly. And we see right now that we are still somewhat 3,000 off, some 2,500 off, touching the possible pivot point from the previous prices. So we've got movement that we can go down as well. So we should expect to be allowed to move down also, but on that 57,000, it's really an important pivot point to bounce back off of. So if you're thinking, oh no, it's going to go down, it's dying, the Bitcoin, well, 57,000 around here is approximately about the pivot point that we really, really need to protect. And if it does pass that level down here, then we would expect it to go on even further. Now, the book does go on to say that the price can move down a few points, right? Now, in this sense, let's call it maybe 500, that it can move down. It can move down a little bit and before it rallies back up again. But what it should be expecting is that if it does come down, you should allow it to come down a little bit. And then if it does have the momentum to go back up again, then it should push through and then move above the previous pivot point as well, all right? And if it can't break above the previous pivot point as it did the lower one, then we should expect it to come back down again and here. And this same pattern continues on and on and on. So it should always be able to break through a pivot point quite strongly if it's going to. Otherwise, it will bounce on a pivot point. So we can see here that we've still got some room for going down, right? And we're looking at a 4-hour chart at the moment, a 4-hour time frame. So we can see that we've still got this very much sideways movement. However, the thing that concerns me the most, right, is if we remove all these lines once again. And this is what goes through my head right now. Let's just remove these as well. What goes through my head is if we draw the line across, right, to show these are points and areas where the buyers have been definitely in play, all right? So there's been a lot of buyers here, and let's say there's been a lot of buyers here. Now, the question is, where are the buyers going to be? Are they going to be at this line? Are they going to be beneath this line? So if we just assume that the buyers are going to be around this area maybe, all right, if it breaks through that pivot point. Now, otherwise, it might be that the buyers are before that pivot point to say, okay, I'm happy. If Grayscale's selling, they're going to sell up until, say, here. And that once they are, then there's lots of people in cohorts with Grayscale to say, just keep selling till you get to this price, and then we'll buy it all back up again to go up even higher to come and test this previous, what is now a pivot point, ready to go back up again, ready to test this one here. Now, this is on the basis that there is strength to move even higher. Now, we have to look on both sides of the coin here, is that if this continues, which it looks like it possibly might do, I mean, it's got the signs, all the prices beneath the 5, the 8 and the 15. The 15 is below the 50, and then the 50 is below the 200, etc., etc. So, but the 200 is above the 300. So the long-term trend is still very much higher, but the 200 is making lower averages all the time. And we can see that there is signs of weakness in the buyers right now, and the sellers are, I wouldn't say as much they're forcing the price down. It's the buyers that are waiting to buy that off even lower, right? And so this is where, like, especially reading the books from Jesse Livermore, he doesn't care about bears and bulls. He tries to negate that sentence whatsoever. He tries to negate saying there's a bear market or there's a bull market, because he's more concerned about where the price is moving. And price can move on a weekly basis. It can have a trend going up for 2 weeks and then come down for a week and then go up for 3 weeks and then go down for 6 weeks. So really, there's only been a couple of times in history where there has been a bull market for a very, very long time and prices have continuously gone up. That's what he's trying to say. So we really need to not concern ourselves with the bulls or the bears. We should concern ourselves is where there are buyers and where there are sellers and where there is liquidity, right? So if someone has got lots of Bitcoin that they need to sell, they're not going to just sell it in one big area, because that is going to tank the market and they're not going to be able to get their trade executed in its entirety. It will just absolute tank the market, and it will go down 20k in the space of a minute or something, because the order book will just flush through all of the orders, sucking up in this way all of the bids, right? Because if you put in, let's say, 200,000 Bitcoin here to sell, then the likelihood is there won't be 200,000 Bitcoins. There won't be enough bids in the order book to fulfill that order. Now, there might be, let's say 100,000 bids in the order book to suck up half of it to there, right? But then the other half, there could be, let's say 50,000 coming here, and it could just suck up 50,000 here. But the remaining 50,000 could be sat waiting down here. This is the clever people, like, oh, in the future when it does come back down here, I'm going to buy 50,000 Bitcoin in the event that it does, because they've got loads of money invested, loads of other things as well. So they're like, I'll only buy Bitcoin if it comes back down to, say, 38,000. So, but if there was no liquidity in this area, then the price would just zoom straight through. So it's illogical selling so many Bitcoin or so much of an asset at once. You've got to test the market to see where there is liquidity. And if you put in, say, 1,000 Bitcoin into a trade and you see that the price just pretty much like this one here, it just pretty much stays still. There was a little bit of fluctuation, but you know that you can sell 1,000 Bitcoin and the market will just suck it up. And then if you sell another 1,000 afterwards, you can see here it doesn't do much. So this is the whole point that Jesse Livermore is talking about, is that you have to find the market first of all. Now, we know more than likely that down here, there's going to be a huge amount of buyers there, and that they're selling this off. But you can see here over the past now 6 hours or whatever, 8 hours, that it hasn't moved much. We had this big move down here, but really it wasn't that big. It moved down, let's say 59,000. Yeah, it moved down like 800, but this is not like a really big move like this or like this. There's still lots of people buying this up. So we can see that people are expecting higher prices, but there's lots of selling obviously going on by the likes of Grayscale and other people selling it for God knows why, what reasons. And I'm expecting that because as far as I'm aware, on Monday, on the 1st of May, if that is Monday, 1st of May, then the Hong Kong ETFs, or the China/Hong Kong ETFs, are going to go live. Now, is this Grayscale just dumping its final bit before Hong Kong brings in its however many billions to buy up Bitcoin on a daily basis? We know what the Chinese or the Hong Kongese, or whatever they're called, that whatever the people from Hong Kong are called, that's we know what they're like. They tend to buy things, and they like risk a little bit more than the conservative people in Europe and then other people in other countries. So what's going to happen? My assumption here is that we're going to see at 3:30, we're going to see another dip to the downside, right? But I would suggest that we are also going to see some heavy buying in this one zone. So I would expect if this zone gets broken, and it gets broken today, or even between now and tomorrow, then it's night. It's night for this upside over the next month or so. I'd say we're going to have a low, and then it's probably going to be the summer. If this makes a low, I'd say the summer's going to be low. Because people go on holiday, people want to put their money elsewhere in that time, and then they start spending their money after that, ready for going up to. So I would expect if it does break through this and go down, then I'd expect some real low prices. And if it was me, I will be doing this. I'll just be saving my money, saving every day, and I won't be putting any money in. And I'll just wait to see where the market stops, and that'll be it. And I'll put my other concentration onto the likes of Tesla. And on that note, Tesla has been dumped quite a lot, but yesterday the earnings were pretty good, and I'd been buying Tesla all the time, and as it went down here, I bought loads more, and I went from being in a negative to like 10% negative to then suddenly boom, I was like about 20% in the plus. So it just goes to show you that when you're buying into something with strength that actually has value, that you're buying into technology, into a robotics company, into a tech company that will move up higher in the future, and especially Apple. Apple will come out with something new, and the prices will go up in the future too. And Clean Spark and Riot, I mean, they just zoomed as well. So basically, I mean, right now, if you're new to Bitcoin and you want to get in, then just dollar cost average in is perfectly fine, right? But if you don't know what I'm talking about, dollar cost average, this is Apple stock. If you don't know what I'm talking about with dollar cost average, well, I don't think that I would advise you, which I'm not, to get into Bitcoin. What I would advise you to do would be to get into Solana, right? Because Solana right now, whichever way you want to look at this, right? Any way you want to look at it, it's a bargain. Right? It's a bargain. 135 euro, or say 145, 150 or whatever dollar for Solana is an absolute bargain. And over the course of 1 or 2 or 3 years, you will just literally go, why didn't I buy more? Right? And yeah, that is it. We've already, I mean, me and my wife, we already put a lot of money into this, and I still don't think I've put enough in. But I have a lot more cash left over to go in as well. So I'm not against putting more in. But right now we want to see whether or not this is a bottom, right? Whether this actually is a bottom. But I don't think it is. I think it's just getting tested maybe 4 or 5 times before it actually starts moving down. We've seen it's got like a bouncing ball here. And I'd expect it to bounce a whole bunch of times, and that takes it to about June. But by the time Grayscale sold it all off, and all of these other ETFs have bought it all up, and so on. So Grayscale's got like 300,000-400,000 Bitcoin, and if they've got to still sell, say, another 100,000 of it, then it will take them some time, and they won't want that price going below $60,000 or whatever. They'll want to keep it. They'll want to keep it in the $60,000 range to keep profits and stuff. So I just can't see it. I can see. I'm not saying that I can't see future high prices. I can see future high prices. Otherwise, I would get out. But I just can't see it happening over the course of the next 6 weeks. I can see it happening, like I said, over the course of the next 6 to 8 to 9 months. So now we're really looking at, like December. So we're looking at November, December time. So we could expect prices to come down here to then rally up again. But in that time, I'll just keep staying vigilant, keep learning, keep researching, and so on, just checking the markets and investing my money into other sectors, because putting all your money into one sector is not a wise thing. There's a whole bunch of different sectors, and just because oil and gold goes up in one sector doesn't mean to say that that makes the other sector go down. There's some sectors in the world that don't care whatsoever whether tech goes down, whether gold goes up, or whether interest rates. They just continue on because there's more than 8 billion people in the world that need their products regardless of the other sectors. So this is something that is really, this time here, this 1 month now, or 1 month and 1 day, has really taught me here to take a step back and to view all of the other sectors, to view specifically. I mean, I don't think I would have ever looked so much at the yields if Bitcoin hadn't have, if it had just gone on, I'd have assumed that this was just a Bitcoin rally. But now this time has taken me, the time it's been going sideways has forced me to see how important the yields are, to see how important the other things are, and especially with the likes of the euro against the dollar. You can see here pattern here is that's been going sideways since November 22. So why should Bitcoin suddenly zoom up and down? And when you look at silver, look, silver on a weekly, it went sideways, and it's only cherry picking this area, right? It's only cherry picking that, and that's Feb 24 to November 22. So let's just call it 2 years. It went sideways. So you can't expect Bitcoin to be special, just because it should go sideways. It should go up and up and up all the time. Well, there's a whole bunch of times where just the stuff goes sideways, and what you can start doing, which is why I started to buy all of the Jesse Livermore, excuse me. He's called Larry Livingston in the book, actually. I bought them is because I want to start to learn about how and when you can get into the market, and what signs does the market tell you about when is the best time to get in and when is the best time to get out, and how can you spot these things. So this is why I'm reading these books, and I will read more and more and more. So with that said, I mean, if you've been watching my videos for the past month, thank you very much. I'm super grateful to you. I won't stop making these. I might start prolonging them a little bit to maybe one every second day, if it keeps on going sideways like this, because otherwise I'm just going to be repeating myself about it. So, but other than that, I mean, today I've been doing some trading, basically just to pass some time. And where are we on Thursday today? Yeah, I mean, this is what was interesting for me today, right? Is when we look on a 15-minute level, and if we just what we're looking for is the exhaustion of sellers or the exhaustion of buyers. Okay, so we're not potentially looking for any patterns. We're just trying to find out. Trying to find out where the buyers were. Right, which we can see here. There's two there. We're just going to put one arrow. And then the buyers are here. And then the buyers are here. And this is going to get very repetitive, okay? But this is the whole point of it. The buyers were there. And the buyers were there, okay? So we can see this is where all the buyers were. And they managed to keep this line. Not a problem. It came below a little bit, but ultimately they managed to push the line up. They managed to protect this line. But one by one, I'm assuming, one by one, they all got a little bit more tired. It's like a tug of war, They all got a little bit tired, and someone said, I've got no money left to buy anymore. And then some of them started going, do you know what? It's not going up. I'm going to sell mine. I've had enough. I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to sell. And then the next one goes, oh, you know what? I'm going to sell as well. And so now, rather than having 3, 6, 7 buyers on there, you've now got 5, right? And then another one goes, I'm going to start selling too. And so the balance is now 4 against 3. It just depends upon who's got the most Bitcoin and whether or not these buyers can outbid the offers from these one sellers now, what were previously. And then you've got the additional people that were selling anyway because they were taking profit. So now you've got 3 up here and 4 down here, and then now these 3 are also selling what they've bought here. And at one point, when one more of these, it tips and you see movement like this come through, because now there's no buyers, and these buyers, they're trying to keep the price, but it's just not enough, and it sucks straight through their orders down to the next bit down here. And there are other people, opportunists, that come along to say, I'll buy this, and another opportunist that comes, I'll buy this too, and another opportunist comes down and says, I'll buy it too. And maybe a few of these come down here and they start changing their mind to say, I'll buy down here as well. And they push the price back up. But ultimately, and if you read Jesse Livermore's book, ultimately, you cannot force the market to go in another direction by buying it, especially not in Bitcoin. If the market wants to go down, it will go down. whether you buy as much as you want. You could buy all of the Bitcoin being sold here, and if the Bitcoin wants to go down, it's going down. So just trade with the market, trade in which direction it goes. And the whole point is that if you are long term, then you should be buying everything at as a discount as possible and stashing it in your wallet, ready for when it does go higher in 5-10 years time. So it really doesn't concern you what price you buy it at. You want to try and always buy it at a lower average than what you bought it before. So these small moves are of no relevance to you. But if you're trying to make a living out of buying and selling Bitcoin or buying and selling stocks, then it's important to recognize trends, and obviously places as well where the rest of the world or the rest of the traders are going to go, I'm going to buy there. And if 90% of the buyers are saying they're going to buy here, and we all know you're going to buy there, right? There's a market there, so it knows that you can sell there because there's people buying there, all right? And we also know that the people are going to be taught by their retail broker to put their stop loss here, which means they bought it here and then they sold it there at a loss. So why don't you just forget about this? Why don't you just forget about putting it here and just put your limit order here to buy? Because if you're willing to have a loss, then just move your buy order to your limit order, your stop loss, and then the market shouldn't go below, and you should be bang on with money every single time. And if the market does go any further, then just get out. You were wrong. You were wrong. Take your losses, and you were wrong, and that's it. So, but if you were certain that the fact that the market is going to turn in the opposite direction, then you should go in hard, right? And this is the whole point. What Jesse Livermore says: you should go in hard here, because if you know the market is going to go in that direction and you only went in small the first time, then you were wrong. You were trading as if you were wrong. But what he also says is he only wants to go into a market when he sees that market is dead and no one else is trying to sell that stock at all. And there are no more sellers, no more sellers, no more. You couldn't sell it if you tried. And when no one is selling, right? No one is selling anymore. This is the time to go in massive, right? This looks like an oyster. That's time to go in massive, because that means that the next sellers might be there. The next sellers might be there. The next sellers might be there. And the order book is just got to go booming through and it'll push the price up. And that is exactly how the order book works, all right? And this is the mentality that you need to have. And if you haven't thought about reading this book right now, or haven't thought about reading one of these books, Jesse Livermore, right? Think about reading these books, because they will enlighten you to how people did it 100 years ago, or actually 120 years ago, and so on. With that said, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting my channel, and so on. You give me, not many people watch the videos, but I don't care. I don't make them for my ego. I make them for me to make a log of all of the decisions that I've made over the past. And sometimes I was wrong in these videos. Most of them in the beginning I was wrong, to be honest with you, but I've learned from that. I've learned from how the market is. I've learned from my research. I've learned from reading books. I've learned from listening to other people about what they did and why they did it. And it made me think, okay, maybe I was thinking the wrong thing, and maybe I need to change my tune. And I am very much contrarian, but you know, when you see the market come to here and you're like, no, it's going to go down now, and it goes up, and you're like, no, it's going to go down now, and it goes up, and you're like, no, it's going to go down now, and it goes up. You're just on the end of the trade all the time. You're just losing. So, point I'm trying to make is that the world might be saying that the US is getting into debt and getting into debt and getting into debt, and this bubble is going to explode one day, right? Well, they've said that for the past 15 years, and this bubble ain't never exploded, right? It maybe in 2008 exploded, right? But it didn't explode for very long, and then it all went back to normal again. In 2020, that wasn't a bubble exploding. That was just something in the world that happened, and we recovered from it really, really quickly. And it helped the countries make even more debt. And at the moment, there's only a couple of countries that have adopted Bitcoin, and it will probably take another 15 years for the other countries to adopt. But the final point I'm going to leave you with, which is, this is a super interesting point. Back in 1999, the internet wasn't brand new, but it was the part where lots of people were adopting using the internet, right? But it wasn't everywhere, and people said this internet thing will never happen. Well, right now, the number of active users using Bitcoin on a daily basis, right, is just a little bit higher than that of what the active users were back in 1999 using the internet. So all of those people, those contrarians back in 99 that said that the internet will be a big thing, those number of users are now using Bitcoin. So this, when you think about, is it the right time to buy Bitcoin? Well, right now, if you want to talk about in 6 months, no, probably not. But if you want to talk in 15 years or 25 years time, is it the right time to buy into Bitcoin? If you were back in 1999 and you had some money and you knew what the future was going to be, I guarantee you the first place you would be putting your money would be into Yahoo, into Apple, and so on, into Macintosh or whatever it was then at that one time, and into Microsoft, into Amazon. You would be putting your money into that and just leaving it and going, in 25 years' time, I'm going to not just be retired, but I'm probably going to own a couple of islands, all right? And people can retire on my island and live for free, right? And that is how much money you would have had today. Okay, so this is the way you have to think is that you may have some money today. Think about what that money's worth in the future. And if you spend it today on a new iPhone and you already have an iPhone and you keep that iPhone in the box for the future, why don't you take that money for the iPhone and put it into Bitcoin today? And then next year, if your iPhone's still working, take that money that you want to spend on a new iPhone and put it into Bitcoin next year and see how much you could buy next year relative to how much you bought this year. And then see how many iPhones you can buy with your Bitcoin that you have, right? So the one with the money today, you could buy one iPhone. And I guarantee you in 12 months' time, if you took all of that money out in Bitcoin, you could probably buy 5 iPhones or 3 iPhones or at least 2 iPhones or at least 1.5 iPhones. All right. So this is the gamble that you have to take, is that what value does that money have for today and how much can it grow in 10 years' time? Thank you very much for watching. See you in tomorrow's video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.